Conflict doesn't mean a relationship isn't healthy. It's all about how we navigate that conflict and understanding the art of repair. In this episode, I share examples of language that disconnects versus cultivates deeper connection.
Welcome to the Healthy Love Healing Podcast, where we dive into topics pertaining to emotional intelligence, communication, and inner healing. We discuss how unlearning outdated programming can help you cultivate healthy connections in your life because you are worthy of healthy love. You are worthy of healthy love.
Hey, lovers! You are listening to the Healthy Love Healing Podcast. And before we dive into this episode, I invite you to reflect upon one act of healthy love that you experienced in the last week. In this episode, I am going to dive into the art of repair. I think this is so important because I think in today's society, we run away the second something gets difficult. We don't have the capacity to have uncomfortable conversations. We sweep things under the rug, and then when we get to the point of not being able to sweep anything under the rug anymore, we just ghost. That's the MO of our society, and it's not healthy. So, in a relationship, in partnership, in connection, there will be disagreements. There will be situations where someone's feelings are hurt, someone doesn't understand something, miscommunications and misunderstandings happen, but we have to understand the art of repair. And one thing that I've experienced a lot, especially dating these days, is people telling me you're overthinking things and understanding that that is invalidating, that is minimizing. Sometimes, depending upon what follows that, it can be gaslighting. And I know that these words are thrown out a lot, and I don't think everyone necessarily has the intention to invalidate, minimize, or gaslight. Sometimes we just don't know how to navigate these conversations. And one thing that I love about Brene Brown, if you know me, you know I love some Brene Brown. One thing I love about her is that she gives us language to be able to communicate better. So sometimes people just don't know how to express how they feel. And these days we have Chat GPT, so people are asking Chat, how do I express this? And honestly, that's better than ghosting. So if you're like, I don't know how to articulate how I feel, sometimes just ask Chat to break it down and then try to put it into your own words, because you don't want to just copy and paste it and then it feel inauthentic. So having the language to navigate these situations, I think actually really helps. So in this episode, I am going to first start with language that disconnects. And then we're going to talk about a step-by-step process on how to navigate conflict. My brain works in frameworks. I like to have a framework for a situation. If I'm in a pickle and I have a step-by-step framework, that helps me. It also offers comfort to my nervous system where I'm not in a panic and I don't know what to do. So I think sometimes when we have a very clear framework that we can apply, it will help in sticky situations. So if you find yourself in conflict, you can go to that framework in your mind. Okay, let me do this step. Let me do this step. And sometimes it doesn't work out clean and perfect like the framework lays out for you, but at least you have a point of reference and you have tools that you can at least try to apply and go back to the drawing board when needed. Another thing I learned from Brene Brown, compassion and empathy are learned skills. So the first time or two you're in conflict and you try to use these tools, it may not go perfectly. I remember one of the first times I really set a boundary and it felt awful. I feel like I fumbled my way through it, and then I felt like just a mess after. And I'm like, no one said setting boundaries was this hard, right? So it eventually gets easier. I set a boundary this week actually, And I had to message my business therapist and I was like, I set a boundary and I didn't feel bad after. Like, go me. But I remember when I really, really grounded into my boundaries and I started setting them, it felt awful. So, with that being said, your first time working through the art of repair may not feel that great. The more that we use these tools and the more we flex that muscle, let's say our compassion muscle, the more we strengthen our compassion muscle, the easier it will become. So, we're going to go over language that disconnects, a step by step process on how to navigate conflict, and then language that cultivates connection. So, this will give you tools where now it's in your mind, it's in your subconscious. So, the next time you find yourself in conflict, you know exactly what to do. And again, healing is not linear. These are learned skills. So if the first time it feels like you're fumbling through it, that's totally fine and natural. It will become easier over time because ultimately, most of us were not taught how to communicate in a healthy manner. I grew up in a household where there was screaming, yelling, stonewalling, stomping through the house, but not actually saying what was wrong. So I had to learn these skills, understanding that conflict happens, and conflict doesn't mean that a relationship isn't healthy. Conflict doesn't mean that you and the person are not compatible or you and the person don't love each other. It's how we navigate the conflict. So, conflict will happen, but if we can navigate it in a healthy manner using this step by step process, then we can cultivate that healthy love and that healthy connection that we truly desire. So let's dive into language that disconnects. I have 8 different examples. So, number one is minimizing or invalidating feelings. This looks like someone saying, "You're overreacting, you're being dramatic." Guys, don't ever tell your woman she's being dramatic. That is the worst thing you can say. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. You're too sensitive. You're overthinking things. I receive that one a lot. You're overthinking things. Oh, you're making things too complicated. These are things that will create disconnect and make the person feel not seen, not heard, not valued, not appreciated, not listened to, like all of the things. So, number one, minimizing and invalidating feelings creates disconnect. Number two is blaming or shaming. This is all your fault. Why can't you ever do anything right? You always mess things up. You never listen. I don't get this one too much on my end personally. I get more of a reversal of this. Ugh, nothing I ever do is good enough for you. Ugh, it's all my fault. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. That's what I usually get. Still disconnect. It still creates disconnect. So these are things that if you're aiming for connection and nurturing and love and deepening the relationship, these are things that you want to avoid. Number three is dismissing experiences or opinions. You're wrong. That's not how it happened. That's just in your head. You're imagining things. So, we talk about narcissists a lot, and narcissists will create doubt in people, and not just narcissists, emotionally immature people as well. In the last episode, I talked about the difference between a narcissist and someone who is emotionally immature. Narcissists typically don't care, they don't have feelings, they don't feel bad about hurting someone's feelings, they just feel bad about their image or being called out on what they did, versus someone who's emotionally immature does actually care, does actually want to be a good person. They just may not have the tools or the capacity to navigate it with emotional intelligence. So these can be narcissistic tendencies that someone is playing out, or it could just be an emotionally immature person who hasn't done any inner child healing or self-reflection. Because typically, right or wrong, I always say this, if you're trying to prove yourself right, you both lose. If you're trying to prove the other person wrong, you both lose. Do you want to be right, or do you want to have connection? You can't have both. Because if you prove yourself right, you make your partner feel bad, you have just created disconnect. So it's not about right or wrong. I believe in yes and. Yes, this is your experience, and this is my experience. So I always say this, two people can walk into the same restaurant and have two totally different experiences, and both are valid. So it's not about right or wrong, it's understanding each other's perspective. So anytime someone is like, you're right, or you're wrong, it goes against everything the art of repair is actually about. So the second fingers are being pointed about right or wrong, it's an opportunity to take a step back and ground ourselves and approach the situation when we can come with a clear mind, knowing that yes, and both experiences are valid. And it's not about agreeing. You don't have to agree. This was your experience. This was my experience. How did this make you feel? Here's how I felt. And now we understand each other. We don't have to agree, but at least we can try to understand. And I think that that's where people get caught up, is if I understand how they feel, that means that how I feel is no longer valid. And that's not true. They can feel this way. I can feel this way. That was your experience. This was my experience. I understand when this thing happens, it makes you feel this way. Okay, I understand that. When this happens for me, from my perspective, it makes me feel this way. And then if my partner understands that, then the next time we understand each other better, and we can hopefully navigate it with more compassion. So, I think dismissing experiences or opinions, trying to prove someone wrong or invalidate someone's experience, is definitely a huge way to create disconnect in your relationship. Number 4 is criticizing or comparing. Why can't you be more like X, Y, and Z? You're always blah, blah, blah. You're never blah, blah, blah. You're too, or you're not enough. And so, one thing that I feel with this one is sometimes we say these blanket statements and it's a cover up for something deeper that we may not have the comfort in expressing. So I always give this example when a woman is complaining about her husband not taking out the trash. Typically, it's never actually about the trash. It's about something deeper, that there's not enough comfort there and safety for her to express what she's actually bothered by. So she'll find something trivial like the trash to complain about. I think that it's very easy to get into a criticizing, comparing, nitpicky space when you don't have the safety in the connection to talk about the deeper issue, the real thing that's getting under your skin. So this one can be pretty deep. The next one is stonewalling or avoidance. I don't want to talk about it. I don't care. It is what it is. Silence when your partner is trying to express themselves. So, stonewalling is never healthy. Me coming from a household where people would stonewall rather than have a conversation, it's definitely something that would make me feel very uncomfortable, especially because of my inner child experiencing that, knowing that we're not just dealing with our partner, we're dealing with our partner's inner child as well. So, understanding our partner for the purpose of knowing what types of behaviors will be triggering or uncomfortable for them, and not doing them because we love them and we want a healthy relationship. And also us doing our own work. So our inner child healing isn't the responsibility of our partners. And if our partners take time to learn us and learn about our past and understanding that when these situations happen, instead of stonewalling, I'm going to lean in and offer affection. So my partner knows I'm not going anywhere. Creating that safety. A lot of people feel like if we have this uncomfortable conversation, this person's going to leave me, this person's going to abandon me, this person's going to reject me. So leaning in and saying, hey, I love you. I know that we're going through a thing right now, but know that I'm not going anywhere. Let's cool out. Let's take a chill pill. Let's put a pin in it until tomorrow, but just know that I love you. Like, imagine if we communicated that way. Imagine a person that has abandonment issues, and maybe you're working on your abandonment issues, and we can only heal these things in relationships. Sometimes people think that we can heal this thing in therapy and you can do it in isolation, but the reality is you don't know if therapy worked, if healing worked until you get into a relationship and they push that button, they poke that bear, they poke that trigger, and then see how you respond and react to it. So imagine someone with abandonment issues that had a partner, they had a disagreement, and the partner said, hey, I know that you have some abandonment wounds. And before we talk about this, I just want you to know that I love you. I'm not going anywhere. Disagreements happen, but I love you. And I'm here. I'm here with you. So let's take a moment, ground ourselves, and then come back and talk about it and share with me how you feel. And I'll share with you how I feel. Imagine if conversations went that way. It's not rocket science. It's just people haven't done the inner work to, one, have that level of self awareness, that level of emotional regulation, and the language to actually say when you're in conflict. And that's part of why I created the Healthy Love Healing Method, to give people the language. Working with my business therapist and mentor and going through the Brene Brown training that I did gave me a lot of language in business, right? I want to incorporate that vulnerability, compassion, and language into connections because people are struggling with connections. People are struggling in relationships. People are struggling in friendships. People are struggling in business partnerships. And if we have the language to work through these things, work through the art of repair, it can really change people's lives when we have connections that feel safe and nurturing. Okay, so the next one is deflecting or projecting. This one I will definitely say takes a lot of self awareness, and I find that not everyone has self awareness. So, this one looks like someone accusing you of a thing that they actually are doing or feeling. So, saying, oh my God, you're angry. But it's like, no, I'm not angry. I feel like you're the angry one. The thing about this one is without self awareness, it's going to be really hard to navigate. I don't think people can always tell when they're deflecting or projecting. And so being able to take a step back, go for a walk, take a nap, do something to pull yourself out of the situation so you can zoom out and be able to see it from a wider lens. Because when we're close in and we have tunnel vision, it's really hard to see how we're showing up in situations, especially if we're really bothered, hurt, triggered, mad. It'll be really hard to see that we're deflecting or projecting. But it happens a lot, and it's important that we catch it and not do it. That's pretty much it. We just have to be able to catch it and not do it. And the thing about it is, I feel like we've all done some of these, right? Like, no one's immune. We're like, "Ugh, I've never done any of these." If you're saying you've never done any of these, then I feel like you're not being honest with yourself. So it's about catching the patterns. I know that I grew up with certain behaviors, and when I catch myself mimicking some of those behaviors, I catch it and I check in with myself and I can take accountability. That's the important thing, taking accountability. So it's not about perfectionism, it's about noticing when there's an unhealthy pattern and saying, hey, I realize that I am deflecting right now. So let me take a moment to ground myself. I'm going to go for a walk. I'll be back. And then we can talk about this when I can, you know, speak about it from a grounded place. There's nothing wrong with that. Taking a beat, take a moment, put a pin in it. And I think I grew up in a household where it was said something like, never go to bed mad, like talk about it before you go to bed. I feel sometimes taking a nap, going to sleep, and looking at the situation with fresh eyes in the morning is actually healthier. When you force yourself to talk about something before you're grounded, that's when people are reactive. Because here's the thing, 8 in 10 people are operating in burnout. If you're tired, if you're cranky, if you're overwhelmed, if you're stressed, and you're forcing yourself to talk about something heavy or uncomfortable, that's when you say things that you don't actually mean. That's when you show up not your best self. If you get a good night's rest, and I know sometimes people can't sleep if something's bothering them, but that sense of urgency is actually a trauma response. That sense of urgency, like, I can't go to sleep until we talk about this, that is typically a trauma response because it's a sense of fear that if we don't talk about this now, like, I don't I don't feel safe. And usually the root of that is the fear of abandonment, the fear of rejection. Again, these are trauma responses. So, finding a way to calm your nervous system, go for a jog, go to the gym, do something to soothe your nervous system, get a good night's rest. And then when you wake up in the morning, usually we have a clearer mind. We're more calm, we're more grounded in our bodies. So, I honestly don't think we should force ourselves to talk about things at night after a long, stressful day. Take a nap, go to sleep. Let's talk about it in the morning. And to me, that is emotional regulation. But emotional regulation is something we have to work on. So, the more we regulate our nervous system, the more we can regulate our emotions. All right, so the next one is threatening or ultimatums. Number 7. If you do that again, I'm leaving. Do this or else. I can't deal with you right now. So, threatening or ultimatums, if you are putting the fear in someone that you may leave them, you may abandon them, you may reject them, that's going to keep their nervous system on edge. I did a podcast episode on walking on eggshells. If a person feels like any little thing I do, they're going to leave me, that's going to keep your partner's nervous system in fight, flight, or freeze, or vice versa. If your partner does this to you, where you think any little thing you do, they're going to leave you, that's going to keep your nervous system in fight, flight, or freeze. That's not safety. That's not healthy. So, one of the things that I think creates safety is knowing that your partner's in your corner. Now, obviously, when it comes to things that are unhealthy, like infidelity, lying, stealing, substance abuse, things like that, I'm not referring to that. But if we just have a disagreement, we shouldn't break up over that. I've had so many connections fall apart or end or just fade away, and nothing actually happened. People don't stick together anymore. I feel like our society is lacking true connection because we have these false senses of connection. We have social media that makes us feel like we have all these friends. We have dating apps that makes us feel like we have all these options. And so people are not really sticking with connections these days. And it's unfortunate. And I think it's contributing to the high rate of depression because people are like, okay, I have 5,000 Facebook friends, but I feel alone. I don't feel seen. I don't feel heard because we don't actually have healthy connections in our lives. On the other end of the spectrum, if you are the one doing the threatening or giving the ultimatum, sometimes we do that for a sense of control. Controlling the situation. Sometimes people want to control the situation or leave before they're left. And so, again, noticing our patterns and taking accountability for them. If we feel like we have to control the situation or leave before we're left, again, that's abandonment issues and childhood wounds that inner child healing will work on. And that's why I'm a huge advocate for inner child healing. I don't think that people sometimes see the value in it, but I don't think we could have really healthy connections until we at least look at our childhood and how we learned to relate to others. So, last but definitely not least, passive aggressive comments. Fine, whatever, sure. If that's what you want, I guess I'm the only one trying here. So, passive aggressiveness is just annoying. It's just annoying in connections. So these are 8 things that will create disconnect. So let's talk about step by step how to handle conflict, applying the art of repair. So, number one is check in with your nervous system. Self awareness is key. If you know that you were worked up, if you know that you are reactive, if you know you're feeling defensive and you're frustrated and you're angry, pause. Pause. Do something to regulate your nervous system before you have that conversation with your partner. If you are worked up, it's not the best time to have the conversation. So, soothe your nervous system, calm your nervous system, regulate your nervous system first. So, if you're fired up, not the time to have the conversation. If they're trying to have the conversation, say, hey, I need to take a moment to ground myself. I need to take a moment to calm down. I need to take a moment so I can have this conversation with you in a healthy manner. Any form of that sentence, and a healthy partner will respect that. I think it's also powerful to name how you feel because it loses its power. So I remember I dated someone where I could tell they were frustrated, angry, not necessarily at me, but it could have been at life. And they would deny it. Oh, I'm fine. I'm handling this fine. And I'm like, no, I feel your energy. Like, I feel the frustration. I feel you on edge. And so, again, self awareness is key. Being able to, one, be honest with yourself, and then two, be able to be honest with your partner by naming how you feel. Hey, I'm feeling very reactive right now, so this is not the best time for us to have this conversation. Give me a moment to ground myself. I'm going to go take a walk. And when I come back, I would love to sit down and chat about this. So, naming that I'm feeling reactive, one, it loses its power. Two, I'm taking accountability. Three, I'm approaching the situation in a healthy manner by saying, hey, let me go cool off really quick and then let's have this conversation. So once you have checked in with your nervous system, regulated your nervous system, named how you were feeling, accountability is sexy. Just reminding yourself that nobody's perfect. So it's about catching yourself. So once you've done that, the next step is to get curious. Get curious about how your partner feels. Now, when we can't get curious, it's because maybe we don't understand how we feel, or we feel like understanding how they feel means that my feelings don't matter. So making sure that you're in a space where you can be curious about how your partner feels, understanding how they feel, how they saw the situation, what they need to feel comfortable or safe, and being willing to listen without interjecting your own perspective of the situation. So, really taking the time to hold space for how they feel and then sharing how you feel. So, if your partner starts to share how they feel and you say, well, I feel this way, then that puts you right back into that conflict. So, really getting curious and holding space for how your partner feels, just their feelings. And it doesn't mean that your feelings don't matter, but take turns. And maybe you say, hey, can I share how I feel first? And then I want to hear how you feel. So, if it's something where you really have to get something off your chest, then say that, I would really love to share how this landed for me, and then I want to hear your perspective. I know that this is like best case scenario and people don't typically communicate this way, but if we did, think about how amazing our relationships would be. And I know when I've had people that had the emotional intelligence to speak in this way, it was such a breath of fresh air. It's like, wow, I feel so much closer to you with how you navigated the situation. And now, where I'm at in my life, I'm meeting more people and connecting with more people that communicate this way. And the level of depth that I feel with these individuals is really beautiful. It doesn't always happen. And even the most emotionally intelligent person can get triggered and reactive one day, but it's not about perfection. It is about being present and taking accountability. If someone is reactive today and they come back tomorrow and say, hey, I was really stressed out yesterday, it's taking accountability. I've been there. I've reacted and had to go back. The situation I'm thinking of was actually a business situation because I had just moved the studio and I was so stressed out with moving the studio. That's a whole nother story. But I was reactive and I went back and I said, hey, I was reactive. I probably should have responded to that message the next day. But I was really stressed. And it doesn't excuse the behavior, but taking accountability, saying, I noticed I didn't show up my best. People respect you when you can take accountability. Like I said, accountability is sexy. I'm going to put that on a graphic. Accountability is sexy because a lot of people cannot take accountability. But why can't people take accountability? Because they haven't done their shame work. And so if you don't do your shame work, there's a part of you that feels, if I take accountability for this, this means I'm bad. I'm a bad person. So guilt and shame is different. Guilt says I did something bad, shame says I am bad. And a lot of people internalize things that they can take accountability for as they're bad. So if I admit to this thing, that means I'm bad. And really, that's just an inner child that hasn't been nurtured. And so they're holding on to this, I don't want to be a bad person, because they haven't gone back to do that inner child healing to differentiate what makes you a bad person. So saying, hey, I know I was reactive doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I'm human, right? Our adult self understands that, but our inner child doesn't understand that. Because when we were children, we didn't have the discernment, but that's why going back and nurturing your inner child helps you detangle these things in your mind and in your heart. Back to the steps. So after you get curious, then have compassion. So sometimes we don't understand other people that just think differently than us. We can be in a relationship with someone who thinks completely different. So I've had situations where someone said something or did something, and I'm like, I just don't understand. Like, help me understand. Say more. Can you explain this to me? Because my brain operates differently, so I'm not understanding the logic. Once we get curious and we try to understand, then offering compassion. I may not think that way. I may not get it on that level where I would have done this thing or I feel this way, but I can have compassion for how you feel. That compassion creates safety because if I say, "Oh, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Like that's stupid." Right? That person does not feel safe. That does not create safety in the connection. So, trying to understand, I may not have reacted that exact way. I may not feel that exact way because we have different backgrounds, we have different experiences, but I understand what it feels like to need validation. So, I have compassion that this is a situation that bothered you, and I want to give you that reassurance that you need to feel comfortable and safe and nurtured in this connection. I think as a society, we are lacking compassion massively. We are lacking compassion as a society. And I think it's problematic. Like, it is a huge, huge problem. One of the things that I want to see is more compassion in our society, but that starts with having self compassion. When we have compassion for others and we don't have compassion for ourselves, that creates resentment. And I think that that's really the core of the problem. We live in a hustle culture that teaches us to push past our discomfort and go, go, go no matter what. And one of the people that I actually follow says fuck your feelings. Like she has it on like, I don't know, like a t-shirt or something, or like she puts it on her like laptop, like fuck your feelings. But I'm like, no, honor your feelings. But if we subscribe to that, like fuck your feelings don't matter to yourself, like she's saying this to herself, then how is she going to hold space for other people's feelings if she's not acknowledging her own? And that is the core of part of our problem as a society. People are not honoring their own feelings to have any room to acknowledge anyone else's feelings. So it starts with us. It starts with having self compassion, honoring our own feelings, and then it makes it easier for us to honor other people's feelings, to have compassion for others. So let me not get on a soapbox with this one. So, having compassion, but in order to have compassion for others, we have to have compassion for ourselves. So, if you check in with your nervous system, soothe and regulate your nervous system, get curious, have compassion, that will cultivate connection, and connection leads to healthy love. Okay, so we talked about language that disconnects. Now, let's talk about language that connects. So, the opposite of it. So, instead of minimizing or invalidating feelings, we want to actually validate our partner's feelings. I hear you. I can see why you feel that way. Thank you for sharing how you feel. I want to understand. Say more. It sounds like this really matters to you. This sounds really important to you. If someone says, this sounds really important to you, give me a moment so I can be fully present with how you feel. How sexy is that? Oh my God. Emotional intelligence is so sexy. Like, it's so sexy. If a man communicated to me in this way, I would have all the feels, okay? All the feels. But I feel like a lot of men don't have the knowledge to communicate in this way. They weren't socialized to communicate in this way. So hopefully there are some men that listen to my podcast, because I know sometimes they don't want to hear this because men were programmed to be stoic and emotionless, and like in order to communicate in this way you have to show some emotions. Number 2 is, instead of blaming or shaming, taking responsibility, taking accountability, and understanding how the person feels and being willing to apologize for that, even if it wasn't your intention. Sometimes we do things that we don't intend. So let's just say you stepped on someone's toe. You didn't intend to step on their toe, but when you step on someone's toe, you say sorry, right? I didn't mean to step on your toe, but I'm going to apologize because I did, right? I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, but I'm going to apologize because I did. So, being willing to take accountability, I'm sorry that you feel, and when you say the feeling, so asking a person how they feel, so the get curious part, because what sometimes people will do is say, "Oh, I'm sorry I made you mad." But if the person is like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. And mad and disappointed are two different emotions or feelings. So, getting curious and asking how a person feels, because if you're like, I'm sorry I made you mad, but the person doesn't feel mad, they're still not going to feel seen and heard. So, asking how they feel rather than assuming, and then taking accountability for that thing. So, if someone says, I'm disappointed, I'm sorry that I disappointed you and it wasn't my intention. How can I make it right? What can I do to cheer you up? How can I fix this? It really is just that simple. Let me make it up to you. And asking, how can I make it up to you? Because sometimes people assume, and when you assume and it falls short, then it puts you right back in this cycle of, well, I tried to make it right, but you didn't like this thing. Just ask. Ask, how can I make it right? How can I fix this? And let the person share what they want versus saying, let me make this right, and then doing a thing that lands flat, right? Because then you feel like you're not appreciated because you tried to make things right and it wasn't received. But if you just ask the person exactly what they want, then you can nail it because you know exactly what they want, you know? All right, number 3 is, instead of dismissing experiences or opinions, again, getting curious. Help me understand what you mean. I may see it differently, but I want to hear your perspective. Can you say more about that? Can you explain this to me? Because I don't understand. I want to make sure I understand you correctly, and then saying the thing, because when you say it, what I hear you saying is, that helps validate their experience and they feel heard. So that's really powerful. When someone can reflect back to you, this is what I hear you saying. Let me make sure I understand this right. You're saying X, Y, and Z. And that really makes a person feel like you are listening, you're present with them. So, number 4, instead of criticizing or comparing, acknowledging, honoring, validating. I appreciate how you're showing up. I notice your effort and care in this situation. I know this is an uncomfortable conversation, and I really appreciate how you're navigating this. I'm proud of us. I love this for us. So, really acknowledging, like, yeah, this is uncomfortable. And I love how safe I feel in this dynamic talking to you about something that is uncomfortable. This is another good one. This is your experience, and I want to honor it. I honor your perspective. My perspective is different, but I see where you're coming from as well. Like, it's really not rocket science. It's just we haven't been programmed to communicate in this way. Most of us haven't witnessed anyone communicating in this way. Okay, so number 5, instead of stonewalling or avoidance, saying, I need a moment to process, but I want to continue this conversation. So I gave plenty of examples earlier. I want to hear you, so can we find a good time to talk? And sometimes going to an environment that feels safe, like, let's take a walk and talk about this. And like going out into nature will be helpful because being out in nature is grounding. But if you're somewhere that feels tight or busy or chaotic, it's only going to add that energy to the conversation. So saying, like, hey, let's take a walk, like, depending upon where you are, like I live in Florida. So, like, let's go sit by the water and have a conversation. I think creating a very grounding environment definitely helps. And then saying, I'm committed to working this out with you. Sometimes people just need to know that, like, ooh, I got to make sure I don't say the wrong thing or this is over, right? Like letting a person know, like I want to work this out. I want to understand. Like that's powerful. Okay, number 6, instead of deflecting or projecting, I feel blank about this and I want to share it without blaming you. So, something that I do often is I start by saying, I don't think you did anything wrong, right? Especially if it's a new relationship, because sometimes, if in my experience, if a woman expresses any form of disappointment, a man can take that as we're blaming them, right? So I like to start by saying, I don't think you did anything wrong. I just want to share my experience with you. I don't think you did anything wrong. I just want to express how this landed with me. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but at least I try, right? Like these tools and these skill sets are all about trying, and sometimes it's going to work and maybe sometimes it doesn't. But the more we do them, the more comfortable we are with it, and probably the better results we have with it. Here's what I need right now. Can we work on it together? One really good thing to identify for ourselves and for our partners is the desired outcome. So, me going into the situation, understanding exactly what I need to feel seen. I need to feel heard. I need more nurturing. I need more affection. Like whatever it is that I need, going into the situation with clarity around my needs and then asking my partner what they need. So, what is it that you need? What is your desired outcome of this conversation? Is it to understand each other? Is it to come closer? Is it to work on a specific thing? So when we have clarity around desired outcome and needs, that's where the connection deepens. So really being willing to understand our own needs and understand our partner's needs. And sometimes people don't know what they need, and that's, problematic. If we don't even know what we need, we can't express it to our partners. So that's where self awareness again comes in. So we have to understand our own needs and desires to be able to communicate them to our partner. Okay, number 7, instead of threatening or ultimatums, let's figure out a solution together. I want to find a way forward that works for both of us. I'm committed to resolving this. Can we talk about options? So there's so many things that we can say that is just saying, hey, I'm here, I'm with you, I'm present, let's work through this. And a lot of times, it's all people need is to know that you're in it, you're not going to abandon them, and you have the desire to work on things. It really is just knowing that your partner's in it with you. And last but definitely not least, instead of passive aggressive comments, just leading with compassion. Can we talk about this? I need your support here. Can we work together? I want us to be honest with each other, even if it's uncomfortable. Please be honest with me about how you feel. And it's our responsibility to regulate our nervous systems, to create that safety for a person to be honest and not just tell us what we want to hear. And sometimes that's hard. Like I've asked people things that their response was hurtful, but I wanted them to be honest. And I will always respect honesty over someone telling me what I want to hear. Okay, I know that was a lot of information, but it's so good. So definitely listen to this again. Let it really sink in. So the next time you find yourself in conflict, you have some tools, you have some do nots, and you have some do's. You have some don't say this because it's only going to make things worse. And then you have some this is how you navigate it in a healthy manner. I hope you found value in this, reminding you don't shrink for the comfort of others, and you are worthy of healthy love.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Love Healing podcast, where we are reminding you that you are worthy of healthy love. If this podcast resonates, go download the Healthy Love Healing app, available on Google Play and iOS, for more tools to cultivate self-love and healthy connections in your life.